friends, it's Rana, and like 10 days ago or so, the Goodreads Choice Award winners have been announced, and I didn't even look at the winners yet. It's been 10 days, yeah, I know. But the reason why I didn't, because I'm not a big new releases reader, and every year when I look at the winners, I feel like I don't know these people, or I heard about them, I heard about these books, but I know nothing about. So it came to my mind that it would be a fun video to react to the Goodreads Choice Award winners this year as someone who rarely reads new releases. I hope it turns as fun as it sounded in my head. I have my laptop here and I'm gonna start recording the screen. And let's open Goodreads. Okay, the results are in. Check out the winners of the 2024 Goodreads Choice Awards. I still haven't checked them out. And let's see together. I'm gonna go category by category by viewing the results. Let's see. Okay, the first thing we have is readers' favorite fiction. And the winner is The Wedding People by Alison Spack. I never heard of this person or this book. It won with 94,000 votes. And the second place is a book by Sally Rooney. Weird that she didn't win because I see that many people are fans of her. I never read anything by her, but that's what I noticed. We have also Welcome to the Hyun Nam Dong bookshop. I heard about this book and I wanted to check it out, so I'm gonna put it on my want to read list. We have other books here I never heard of. Okay. I heard about this one. Margot's Got Many Troubles. I saw it a lot on Everand. The other books I'm not really that familiar with, but let's check the winner to see what the book is about. And if it is interesting enough for me to put on my want to read list. It's a beautiful day in Newport, Rhode Island, when Phoebe Stone arrives at the Grand Cornwall Inn wearing a green dress and gold heels, not a bag in sight, alone. She is immediately mistaken by everyone in the lobby for one of the wedding people, but she's actually the only guest at the Cornwall who isn't here for the big event. Phoebe is here because she's dreamed of coming for years. She hoped to shuck oysters and take sunset sails with her husband. Only now she's here without him, at rock bottom, and determined to have one last decadent splurge on herself. Meanwhile, the bride has accounted for every detail and every possible disaster the weekend might yield except for, well, Phoebe and Phoebe's plan. Which makes it that much more surprising when the two women can't stop confiding in each other. It turns absurdly funny and devastatingly tender. Okay, so it is fiction, romance, contemporary, chick-lit book. I'm not gonna lie, it sounds interesting. So I'm gonna add it for now on my list. Let's go back to the other winners. Let's check historical fiction. Oh my god, I love historical fiction books. Let's see, who do I think is gonna be the winner? As far as I remember, whose big historical fiction authors came with a book this year? Maybe Kristen Hanna, the red book she published this year. I can't remember anyone else. So yeah, it's The Women by Kristen Hanna. It is the winner. Wow, she won by 250,000 votes. So the book is an insightful meditation on courage, character, and women gone to war. Kristen Hanna's novel introduced idealistic Army nurse Frances Frankie McGirth as the volunteers in Vietnam circa 1965. Incredibly, her life gets even more complicated when she returns to a dangerously divided America. Hannah has two... Okay, so I'm a big fan of Kristen Hanna, or Christine Hanna, so I'm gonna add this book to my list. Yes, I said I'm not a big fan of new releases, but I eventually read them. Like, I'm not in a hurry to read them during the same year they were published, but I read them eventually. Let's see what other winners. James, I don't know what is this book about, but it got second place with a really high rating. But the number of votes between the first and the second places, it has a huge gap between them. The third book is on my list, The Frozen River. I remember many people praising this book, and I read snippets about, and I really thought that it's gonna be a great book. That's why I added it. We have Judy's book, Kate Quinn. I'm currently reading one of her books, the rose gold, and I'm loving it. What else we have? The rest are not that familiar to me. The next category we have is mystery and thriller. I can't remember any new mystery thriller books, so let's see. The winner is a book called The God of the Woods. I saw it in some other booktubers' videos, but I can't remember what is it about. In 1975, troubled teenager Barbara Van Laar vanished from her bunk at the summer camp owned by her wealthy family, making things so much worse. Her older brother disappeared much the same way 16 years ago. Author Liz Moore expands this intriguing premise into an emotionally engaging mystery that blends elements of crime fiction, psychological suspense, and complex family drama. I heard of the author Liz Moore. I think I read something by her. What was it? Oh, The Unseen Word. Yeah, it was a good book actually. I think I'm gonna add this other book, the winner, to my list. I thought I'm not gonna be interested in the winners, but here I am adding every single one to my TBR list. Other winners, we have First Lie Wins, a Freedom McFadden book. I read only one book by her and I hated it. So, yeah. There's another Frida book. Why? We have a Richard Osman book. I've been interested in his series with the old people. Lucy Foley. Oh wow, it is way down in the list. This one's title sounds interesting but has a low rating. Maybe I'll read more about it later. Also, Rayleigh Sager is down in the list. I have never been a fan of him. I think I read 2 or 3 books by him and it was not my style of mystery thriller books. The other books we have, this one I heard about, people were praising it, but surprisingly has a lower rating, The Night We Lost Him. The other I'm not really familiar with, so let's check the next category, romance. I'm not a romance reader, but let's see it. Funny Story by Emily Henry, no surprise here. It won by 179,000 votes over just for the summer. I heard about this book. People said that it was cute, but I don't trust you all because all the cute romance books you talk about all end up with nearly smut. As for the other books, never heard of any of them. There's a Christina Lauren book, but who cares? Next category, Romantasy. No surprise at all. The winner is Sarah J. Maas with House of Flame and Shadow. I'm really glad that Goodreads Choice Award made a new category for Romantasy because Sarah J. Maas always won the fantasy category when I don't consider her books to be fantasy. They are more like fantasy smut. You all keep talking about boycotting authors and cancelling authors because this or that, but you never seem to cancel Sarah J. Maas for being a Zionist. Hypocrisy. The second book I heard of, the Assistant to the Villain series. Not interested to. The other books I'm not also interested in. I heard about many of them over on YouTube, especially this one, The Spell Shop. Okay, next category, fantasy. Let's get to the real fantasy books. Oh, so the winner for the fantasy category this year is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune. Weird, because I didn't hear about anyone talking about this book. Did people just vote for it because they loved the first book, The House at the Cerulean Sea or in the Cerulean Sea, without reading this one, or they read it actually and actually liked it? I don't know. I have it on my Ever and list to read, but I'm not really interested in. I don't think that it's gonna be as good as the first book. It was very narrow number of votes between the first and second place. It is Leigh Bardugo, The Familiar. I think it is a book about vampires. I also heard about the series, Emily Wilde. What is this one? The Book of Doors. The cover is beautiful. The Fox Wife also has a pretty cover. We have J. Christoph. Okay, I was reading about the Tainted Cup. What is it about? And it sounds interesting to me, so I'm gonna add it. Next we have Veronica Roth. I read by this author before. Wasn't a big fan of him. I'm gonna check the rest of these fantasy books later. Next, for science fiction. I'm not also a big fan of science fiction. I rarely enjoy them, but let's see. The Ministry of Time by Killian Bradley. Who is this author? Have I heard of them before? No, I think it is a debut novel. If you have ever wondered what it would be like to fall in love with a 19th century polar explorer, author Killian Bradley has the book for you. The Ministry of Time is a delightfully playful twist on the time travel romance with elements of workplace comedy, roommate drama, espionage, and temporal physics. Stay tuned. So it is more of romance science fiction. That's why it won. The Family Experiment by John Marrs. Heard of this author's name, but didn't hear of this book. I heard of Annie Bot. Cindy was talking about it a few days ago. Not interested in it either. This cover is so pretty. But I don't think I'm gonna be interested in any of these sci-fi books. So let's go for horror, which a category I read more of sometimes. Oh, it's a Stephen King book, that one. Of course. Whatever he writes, it will win the horror category, even if it was not a horror book like it happened previously in previous years. This book, Maine's resident gentleman maniac, returns with a short story collection on the abiding terrors of the human condition, fate and mortality, tragedy and violence. Also rattlesnakes. King is the king of horror novels, of course, but he is a master of short fiction too, and many are calling his collection his finest yet. This makes his 11th win across horror, mystery and thriller, fantasy and science fiction. I told you, he won so many awards, Goodreads awards. I heard of We Used to Live Here. It sounds kinda interesting, but I don't know if I'm gonna give it a chance anytime soon. What Feasts at Night by T. Kingfisher. I read the first book, What Moves the Dead, and I actually enjoyed it. I heard of this one, The Eyes Are the Best Part. Many people over Horror Booktube rave about it. There is a lot of interesting titles here that I need to also check with the other fantasy books. But let's go to the debut novel category. I'm not really interested in this category. I don't think it is an important one. How to End a Love Story. Surprise, surprise, another romance book. Not interested to read what it is about. What other debut books we have here? The Ministry of Time, The Book of Doors. Okay, this one that I just added, the Korean book, is also a debut novel. Interesting. Daughters of Shandong. Let me check this book. This book sounds like just what I enjoy in historical fiction books, so I'm gonna add it to my list. It is about the Chinese Civil War and the escape of a mother and her daughter to Taiwan. So it was successfully added to my list. Next, audiobook. Since when did we have a category for audiobooks? Okay, let's see. Emily Henry, okay, The Women. 1984. Was this audiobook published this year? Okay, I don't think this category is even necessary, so I'm gonna skip it. To young adult fantasy. Ruthless Vows. I think the first book, what was it called? Yes, Divine Rivals. I have the first book on my list. I know it is more of a romance fantasy, but the way people talked about it made it sounds like something I might enjoy. That's why it is on my list. The second book, I'm not gonna add it until I read the first book. I enjoy it. What else we have here? Heartless Hunter. I heard so many good things about this book. Another romantasy. I'm trying to give this genre a chance, but I didn't read much of it. What else we have? Brandon Sanderson. Fine. Oh, he has a fourth book in the Skyward series? I didn't know that. So many pretty covers we have this year. The others I'm not so familiar with, so let's skip. Young adult fiction. Heartstopper? Wasn't there a category for comics and graphic novels? Why this is here? And it won by a lot over the reappearance of Rachel Price. Oh my god, there's actually no comic and graphic novel category? Why did they remove it? It was one of the best categories that I always check. I think it is not fair to remove that category. What other category did they remove? Poetry. There is no poetry category. What the hell? My two favorite categories that I like to check every year are poetry and graphic novels, and they removed them. The other books I'm not interested in. The only one I think I have on my ever and list is Icarus by K. Ankrum. I think I saw this book, A Crane Among Wolves, over on Instagram Reels a lot. Let's go for nonfiction. The winner is The Anxious Generation, How the Great Rewiring of Childhood Caused an Epidemic of Mental Illness. I actually have this one already on my list. The title, the cover, it sounds like the nonfiction book I would love to read or actually listen to. If I saw it on Everand, I'm gonna start listening to it immediately. But I think it is not available yet there. We have other books. Ali Abdal has a book. Did he actually publish a book after all these years? Not gonna read his book, but this one sounds just the cup of tea. My cup of tea. How to Tell When We Will Die, on Pain, Disability and Doom. Added. Another book here that sounds really good is Nuclear War, A Scenario by Annie Jacobson. Added too. Okay, there's a lot of great nonfiction books this year. All on Her Head, The Truth and Lies Early Medicine Taught Us About Women's Body and Why It Matters Today. Yes, please. Okay, let's go to the next category, which is memoir. The winner is The Third Gilmore Girl, a memoir. Nah. Then we have Sociopath. Yes, I heard about this one. Why is it not on my list already? Let's add it. I believe it is the memoir of the author talking about her life and struggle as a diagnosed sociopath. I heard many things about it. I don't know why it is not yet on my list. I also have Knife on my list. Meditations After an Attempted Murder. I can't remember where I heard about it or who talked about it, but I have it on my list. Or the other memoirs, not something, there's not many that are pulling my interest toward them. So let's go to the last category of the Goodreads Choice Award. Why do I feel like we had more and more categories previous years? All I remember, they removed the poetry and the graphic novel. Let's see. History and biography. The winner is The Bookshop, A History of the American Bookstore. I'm not gonna read a book about bookstores. Eric Larson has so many loved books, but I don't know where to start. Okay, most of these books are very American. I don't know if it is something I am willing to read more of lately. So no, I'm not adding any books from this category to my list. But these are all the winners for this year. Interesting. Let me check what other categories they removed, because I feel like we had a lot more than that. Humor, yeah, they removed the humor. Oh, poetry and graphic novels were removed from last year? Did I have a really terrible memory, or I didn't care last year to notice that they removed these two categories? Let me go back to 2022. Oh yeah, they also removed middle grade and children's. Why didn't I notice that last year? It seems I wasn't paying much attention to it. You may have noticed that I read 0 new release this year. That's why I didn't vote to any of the books. But oh well, there were so many interesting books that I added, and I don't know if I'm gonna get to them this year because I have many other books on my list. But I loved the nonfiction category. It had so many good books. I need to check. Also, I need to check more of the fantasy books that were nominated because most of them sounds or look appealing. I hope you found this video fun to watch. I know it is more fun to watch other people who read all the new releases voting or reacting to the Goodreads Choice Award, but I just wanted to make something different as someone who doesn't read any new releases. So that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to see my future videos, and I will see you next time. Bye!